Hello everyone, it's Adam here. We're doing this video because I actually had a couple of people recently ask me about 90-10, 80-20, 70-30 tires. That really doesn't exist in my world. I don't think of tires as in percentages of on-road or off-road, because if you have a 50-50 tire, that means it's 50% good on-road and 50% good off-road, but not great in either one of those things. You really want to run a tire for the kind of riding you're going to do, and with a big adventure bike, you sort of have to take what you can get, because unless you just keep two bikes or two sets of wheels, you're stuck. So this is a comparison. These are just front tires, except for the one on the far left. That's just kind of a bonus. What we're looking at here is, well, I don't have a script for this. I'm kind of just rambling. Only recently did I hear an instructor say what I've long thought is correct, which is there are really only two kinds of tires. There's knobbies and there are street tires. The whole 80-20, 70-30 thing, those don't really work, because when you're going to be off-road for a few hundred miles, you don't want to be running a street tire, which is the two tires in the middle here. And if you're going to be on-road for thousands of miles, ideally you don't want to run knobbies, which are the far left and the far right. So let's break this down a little bit as to what I'm talking about here. Why are the middle tires street tires? Well, the reason why they have longer life than knobbies, and they're more comfortable to ride, to carve up twisties, to dive in easier, to have better traction, a higher maximum speed, is mostly because of the contact patch. So your bike, let's say your bike weighs 600 pounds, let's assume it's evenly distributed, 300 pounds in the front, 300 pounds in the rear. That means 300 pounds is always rolling over these treads. The less rubber you have, like this one, the more each tread is working. So this is probably half of the contact patch as this one is, and probably this one is 30% less contact patch than this one. So when the weight is, when the rubber is basically giving traction, which causes the rubber to slowly wear down, the more rubber you have contacting the road, the slower the wear is going to be. Now, if you're tracking your bike, that's a little bit different, but we're talking about normal road touring here. So that's the first thing. So that's why knobbies wear faster. There's much less rubber touching the ground, which means the rubber that is touching the ground is going to wear 30%, 50% faster, depending on how much rubber the manufacturer has removed from the contact patch, which is all this blank space right here. So looking at the Anaki Wild versus the Anaki 3, you can see how much difference there is. So what makes a knobby great off-road and not great on-road? Well, that's a little bit of a loaded question. What makes a knobby great on off-road is going to be the ability, well, two things. The ability to allow mud to clear much quicker. So mud and dirt gets caked into these grooves. The grooves are so large and they kind of bow out, they expand outward, and that allows the mud, with the inertia of the wheel, to fly out as you're rotating the tires. That's really what the knobbies are great at. The knobbies are also good at flexing. So you're going to see here, these teeth all bend. They bend and they flex. So when you're going over a big rock that hits here, that rock is going to be flexed into this groove and allowed to clear out naturally, as opposed to getting stuck here between your contact patch and the road and causing it to be more skittish, like you're on marbles. So whenever you're on a tire like this, everything that the tire touches, you're going to feel, because there's very little place for that stuff to go, except for rain, which rain has these nice sips that does work. The Scorpion Rally STR here in the middle, this one has a nice compromise between a nearly solid contact patch along the road, but these little small sips in the middle that do make it more confidence inducing, better for higher speeds, better for grip. But as you get towards the outside, the holes get wider, and that does allow a little bit of that rock to go in here, and also has a mild, a little bit of flex. It's hard to flex, really show the full flex because it's not pumped up because of the way the teeth are angled, but it's far less than this would be if you were to add air to it. So this would fully aired up, it still has a good flex. This one fully aired up is pretty hard. And then finally the Inaki 3 actually is pretty good off-road for an OEM tire that has no knobs or no blocks at all, because what they've done is they've enabled this to really kind of, it flexes a little bit, believe it or not, and in addition to that, it's a very, very soft compound. So you've got you know, a lot of silica in here, so it has a nice superior grip. The issue with the Inaki 3 and why everyone complains it being too loud is because you've got these little teeth all along the inside of each sip, and these teeth do a good job for off-road traction, but they really make a ton of noise when you're rolling around the pavement. But in my opinion, the best OEM tire I've ever ridden, which is the Inaki 3, because it has the ability to go off-road. I rode this thing. It was much better than the Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR for me off-road, believe it or not, even though it doesn't look like it would be any better off-road than the STR would be. And obviously the Inaki 3 and the Scorpion Rally STR are nowhere compared to the Inaki Wild or the TKC 80 for off-road capability. But when you go from two street bias tires to a Nabi, you immediately notice the difference in on-road stability, turn-in, grip, traction, going from 0 to 60 and 60 to 0, so your going and your braking differences are huge. But once you leave tarmac, this is the tire that you want to have. So if you don't have to ride 1,000 miles to the trail, this is definitely the one to pick up. So I wanted to wrap this up actually by mentioning a little bit of the rating system that people will give these tires. The TKC 70 is supposedly an 80-20 tire. The Gonti Trail Attack 2 is a 90-10, 80-20 tire, depending on what press release you read. The Inaki 3 is a 80-20 tire. Scorpion Rally STR is a 70-30. I think those ratings are all bullshit, because it doesn't, you can't, if you spend 30% of your life off-road, you don't want these tires, because that 30% of your time off-road is going to be miserable. You have to constantly keep the front end lightened up. You'll need to pick your lines really well. You'll need to constantly be fooling around with your body position. You are going to have a rough time. They're going to be brilliant on road though. So in my opinion, a 50-50 tire, which is Knobbies, is the only way to go if you're going to spend even 20% of your time off-road in really gnarly terrain. Now I'm talking dirt roads, fine, but I'm talking about like really aggressive climbing up hills, two-track, crossing streams and stuff. You're going to want to have a Nabi, and this is a DOT legal Nabi, so it's pretty much the bare minimum of what the U.S. government will allow to be on the roads. There are no rain sips. You've got these blocks that really flex good. So this being the minimum that DOT will accept, this is obviously not going to work for a GS. But you can see the huge differences between this real Nabi and the Inaki Wild Nabi. Let's go over here. The Inaki Wild is more rounded. It does have larger blocks. This one's got 2,000 miles on it, and that's why it's flatter on the middle. But it is still definitely a Nabi. And then when you go over here, you've got two street tires. And in my opinion, if you're going to spend 1,000 miles in the woods doing a 10-day trip, then you're going to want to have an Inaki Wild or a TKC 80. There's only two tires I'd recommend. There's also some cheap alternatives from Heidenau and yeah, I don't know. There's a few of them here, or Shinko's. I don't really care for those brands, but Inaki Wild or TKC 80 would be my vote. If you're going to be spending most of your time on tarmac with a little bit of off-roading, I'm feeling pretty confident about recommending the Moto Z Tractionator, and that's gonna be my next tire because I rode that tire on a recent trip, and my riding buddy had that tire and it just really performed well. So that would be my tire I recommend. But the video is going a little bit long, so I just wanted to talk a little bit, kind of rant about the 80-20, 90-10 tire math. You either have street tires or you have knobbies. That's how this works. And if you want to ride on the street, get a street tire. If you want to ride off-road, get a knobby. And that's the definitive answer to that. Hope this was helpful, you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.